Hi there, I'm Dr. Stacey Cooper, and thank you so much for joining us on Ask Dr. Stacey. I am so thrilled today to bring to you one of my dear friends and mentors and world-renowned health experts, Dr. Fab Mancini. And Dr. Fab, I've known him for years and years throughout my chiropractic practice. I've been in practice for over 25 years, and Dr. Fab has been part of my chiropractic life almost that entire time. And he has led incredible seminars, lecture series with Parker Seminars, but also now sharing with the world steps in self-healing. So welcome, Dr. Fab. I'm so thrilled to have you here today.
Well, Dr. Stacey, you know, I'm a big fan. And at the same time, I was looking forward to this conversation because I know a lot of great things will come out.
Thank you so much. Because health truly is of essence today. Without your health, there isn't anything. You can't have improved quality of life. You can't live the life of your dreams. You can't build wealth without your health. So it hinges on everything. Now, I want to share with our viewers just a little bit in regards to some of your background, some of the works that you've done, and how far your work reaches. Now, one of your initial publications was Feeling Fab with Fab Mancini. And these 4 steps really are life-changing because it's about making different choices in your life to live a healthy lifestyle. And that's what both you and I teach our members. You also have The Power of Self-Healing. And this is such an incredible book because in 21 days, it is absolutely true. You can change the health of your life. Why? Because your body is an adaptive mechanism. So Fab, share with us just a little bit, what led you to creating these books and sharing this message with the world?
Well, one of the things, Dr. Stacey, that I recognize is that all of us have much greater potential than our reality. You know, all of us are products based upon where we have experience in life. Maybe some of us had environments that really pushed us to become more productive, more successful, while others have environments that really created this survival mindset that is just getting through the day and that's enough. But there's one thing that I've learned over the years, especially when it comes to someone's health. There were 3 main components that inspire me to go into becoming a doctor of chiropractic instead of becoming a neurosurgeon. The first one was that when you look at the science, you have to understand that the body, this human body of ours, is already designed to heal itself. You know, when I did my research for The Power of Self-Healing, I went into the literature and I started looking at all the evidence showing that the body has healed almost every condition at one point or another that we've ever known. But I also interviewed over 50 patients that were told that they could not heal, and they share with me how they heal. So we know that the body is a healing mechanism. The second thing is that the body is made up of different systems. We have our cardiovascular system, our immune system, our respiratory system, our muscle systems, our skeletal system. But there's one system that controls all the systems, and that is the nervous system. And the nervous system is important because it's your computer. All the other systems have to communicate with the nervous system, the brain primarily, and then the brain has to communicate with them so they can function properly. So when you keep that nervous system healthy, and that's what primarily we do as chiropractors, we engage the nervous system so it can function the way it was designed to function, then the body has a much greater ability to heal. So what we notice, and the reason why chiropractic patients get healthy and also stay well more than others, especially our children, you know, in chiropractic, it's a little bit funny because our children rarely get sick. Our children are the ones that never miss a day of school. Why? Because when we keep that nervous system healthy, it gives them a greater opportunity for them to be healthy. And that's one of the things we learn. And the last thing, and this is really important, the people that actually heal on a normal basis, on a regular basis, are the ones that are not trying to manage symptoms in their lives. They're not utilizing healthcare and medications as a way of managing a symptom, because a symptom is the way that the body communicates with us to tell us there's something going on. So the last thing you want to do is to make a symptom go away without addressing the cause of the problem. So one of the things that I have been very inspired to do over the last 30 years is to teach individuals how to listen to their body, how to decipher what that symptom may be telling me that I need to pay attention to. Maybe I'm not sleeping enough, so therefore my hormone levels are very out of range. Or perhaps I'm overeating, right? And I'm developing ulcers. Or perhaps I'm eating too much sugar, therefore I develop something called diabetes. So those are all signs that the body tries to tell you, so then you can make the adjustments that are necessary in your lifestyle in order to stay healthy. So those three things, Dr. Stacey, were foundational for me to decide to become a doctor of chiropractic and spend the last 30 years as a holistic provider teaching millions of people how to be healthy.
And it's so important that you and I are both sharing this message to bring it to the world, because it truly is the essence of getting to the core base of the cause of the situation. And covering up symptoms, does not get you anywhere. It just gets you more symptoms. And those little taps on the shoulder, those little nigglings that that something isn't quite right, those just get pushed away and pushed down. And then you end up with a problem that's so big that it's really difficult to manage. And so the core essence really is about listening to your body and getting in tune with it, so that you can notice those signs and symptoms that are showing up, and you can get to the cause, not just covering them up. And I too share in my office and with my patients and clients the same message, because when you catch it early, you can change everything. Why? Because your body is an amazing adaptive mechanism. So let's dive into that a little bit, how you can change your outcomes by changing what you're providing for your body because of the adaptive mechanism that it does.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we learn in science is that our bodies are cells, right? We're trained as doctors, we're trained to look at the body at a cellular level. Our cells adapt to whatever the environment is. So what's important to recognize is that over 80% of the diseases out there can actually be prevented by simply changing environment. So in the 80s and 90s, and even some of the 2000s, we spent an enormous amount of money researching what we call genetics. And genetics is what our genes are. And in the past, we used to think that our genes determine pretty much our future. And what we have discovered is that that is not so. The genes, no matter if you inherit it from your mom or your dad or whatever your lineage is in your family, is only what is called a predisposition. And what that really means is just that just because you have a gene doesn't mean that your body will activate it to give you that condition. So you can live with your genes non-activated, and that's the reason why some family members, let's say you come from a family of 4, you all have the same gene genealogy, but only one of them has this condition, and another one has a whole different condition, and 2 of them get 2 conditions, but the other 2 don't. That's the reason why. Because for some reason, those individuals are doing something in their environment that is not allowing that gene to be activated. So then in 2000 and 2010, we started investing more money in something called epigenetics. So epigenetics in science is the study of the environment around the cell and not necessarily the DNA, the genes of the body. And what we discover is that the genes were less than 15% directly related to whatever condition you're suffering. Less than 15%. That over 85% was actually related to the environment that you gave that cell. So to put it in a very simple language, if your mom and dad develop a condition, and now you're thinking and you're worried that I'm going to develop this condition, all I want you to do is take a look at your mom and dad's behaviors and begin to set new behaviors for yourself. And new behaviors are primarily divided into 2. The way you think about your body and your health, right? Your thinking, and what you do on a daily basis to be healthy. So if you focus on those two things and you begin to do things that are different than your mom and dad, your chances of activating that gene are very low. So that's really what epigenetics brought us to the world. And we've had many best-selling books written about it and many lectures and TED Talks written, talked about it. But most people still don't understand that one concept, that your environment is actually dictating over 85% of the chances of you developing any illness that you might have been exposed to because of your genes or because of your past.
Exactly. And that's what is so incredible, because this brings hope. This brings empowerment, and this brings the idea that it's never too late to change what you're doing, because your body adapts every single second of every single day to the environment that you provide. So no matter your age or your condition or where you are right now, this moment in your life's journey, if you're heading down a particular path and a road that you don't want to travel, you have the opportunity to change it. You have the opportunity to think differently about your health and well-being and your lifestyle, and you have the opportunity to take different action, which will definitely result in different outcomes. And that's where the hope is. You're not tied to the genes of your mom and dad. You can turn them on or off depending on your environment. And that is such a crucial message for all of our listeners, because so many feel hopeless or tied to the history of the family, and that they just resolve that, oh, that's the way that it's going to be. And it is not. So I implore you to begin to think a little differently and to take different action. And that's what you can do right here. So in regards to mindset and how important, because that's the first thing, right? Think differently. Dr. Fab, what would you say is one of the first steps that people can take, our listeners, to begin to shift a mindset or a pattern that they're in right now? What would you share?
Well, one of the things that I've learned is that most people do not pay attention to why they think the way they do. A lot of times we adopt the mindset of the others around us. We could be our parents, our grandparents, our cousins, our teachers, our friends. And all of a sudden that mindset becomes normal for you, but you never bother to stop and ask yourself, do I really think like that? Do I really agree with that? Is it working for me? Right? A lot of times people say, I'm so tired of being sick all the time. I'm so tired of attracting negative experiences in my life. I'm so tired of not being able to live in abundance, but always living day paycheck to paycheck. Well, those are all mindsets. Another word that people use out there in the personal development world is the word of belief systems. Your belief system is really the way you think about life. Like for me, I was trained to think that the body is designed to heal. I was trained to think that the body was born to be healthy, not to be sick. I was trained to think that the older I get, the healthier I get, not the opposite that most people do. I was trained to think that, the best defense against germs and viruses and bacteria is to build a strong immune system, right? That's the way I think. I don't look for answers outside of myself. I look for answers inside of myself. So that's a belief system. That's a mindset. But it's the same in your business. Some people say, I'm going to start a new business, but I'm not expected to make a profit until at least 1 or 2 years after I start my new business. Why would you ever start a new business if that's the mindset you're going to create? I profited from day one in my business because I realized that the key to profiting is to keeping your expenses down until you get more revenue, right? So I kept my expenses very low. When I first started my practice, I started in an executive suite. It was $250 rent, and it was month to month. And then from there, I went into 2 rooms the next month and then 4 rooms. And by the 4th month, I moved into a beautiful 1,500 square feet office, but I could afford it then because I had enough patients coming in. So what most people don't realize is that to be successful in business, what are your expectations? What are your mindset towards it? So what I recommend is to evaluate that first and foremost. And if you happen to think negatively, what I've learned is that you can actually change that mindset into a positive one by simply making it into a positive statement and begin to actually repeat it to yourself. Think about it. Stay in a state of being, of feeling like, how would I feel if I really believe that that's the way I think? And that's really the secret towards the mindset success. Your mind cannot determine reality to possibility. It doesn't distinguish them. So the important thing is that the one you feed the most is the one that is going to be your reality. So if you focus on the fact that you don't have much money right now, trust me, you will be in that position for a long time, because the more you focus on something, the more you attract it. But if you start thinking about abundance, maybe reading books about creating wealth, maybe looking at interviews of entrepreneurs of how they started from nothing and then now they became millionaires a year later. That's how you feed your mind. And what the new science have taught us, Dr. Stacey, is that when you feed your body information that is opposite to the one that it had already programmed itself for, all of a sudden the new information takes over and the old information begins to die away, and those neurons begin to dissipate, and the new neurons, the new information begins to become your reality. And that's how we change mindset over time.
Absolutely. And it does take effort. It does take change, because it's very easy to default into your old habits. Habits are there to conserve energy, and that's why they're created. And it is easy to default to them. So it does take effort. And I know that one of the other things to implement, not only the positive affirmations and things that you say to yourself to shift that energy, but gratitude is also a great place to start when you're making these kinds of shifts. Just thinking about the little things that you have to be grateful for in this day, in this moment. Perhaps writing them down, 10 things that you're grateful for. And if this is a new practice for you, then even thinking about the pillow under your head, right? The food that you have on your table today. Just even the little things, the people that are around you, the air that you breathe. Start with those things. And as you start to practice gratitude, more things will begin to show up. Energy is also an incredible component for how we relate and interact with those around us. So shifting from that negative mindset to a positive will also change all of your relationships. You know that if you're in somewhere and you see that negative Nelly walk in the door, you already feel that person's energy, and you know that they're not having a great day or whatever, and that changes how you're going to interact with that person. So Dr. Fab, share a little bit about shifting energy and how we are energetic beings and how that affects our relationships with our loved ones, our family, our children, and just take that for a moment.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because as I was becoming a chiropractor, I got very interested in acupuncture. I became an acupuncturist and I started studying what the Chinese call the qi, which is the energy within the body. It's a very healing thing. One of the things that I recognize is that we are energy beings. We are not necessarily physical beings. When you break down what makes this body be, you break it down into particles called electrons, and that's energy. So everything is actually boiled down. In the essence, you're going to be energy, and that energy can actually be positive or it can be negative. And if you want to feed the positive side of your energy, then that's where those healthy lifestyles come in handy. We know that exercise is a very good way to build up your energy. A lot of people say, Dr. Fab, I just don't have any energy today. Really what they're telling me is that they're not feeding their electrical outlet. It's like plugging yourself into a wall. If you think of yourself as an energy being and you need to plug yourself, right? What are you plugging yourself into? If you plug yourself into somewhere that has no electricity, you're not going to get any electricity. That light bulb is not going to go on. But if you plug yourself into maybe positive affirmations every day, 20 minutes of a positive book, audio book, YouTube video, podcast, whatever you love, to feed you, to build your energy, to begin to recognize the possibilities around you rather than just living those probabilities. to be selective of the people that you surround yourself, because we have people out there, some of them in our family, that are energy sappers, right? We are drained completely after we spend 10 minutes with them. And it doesn't matter what we say and what we do, they just don't want to change. Well, you have to be selective. You have to limit that time. You can't overexpose yourself, because you will be drained, and then you won't have anything for yourself or for anybody that you're trying to serve. Uh, I also think that food is one of the greatest energy sources. You know, a lot of times people out there, they say, well, you know, Dr. Fab, I find that when I drink coffee, you know, I get a boost, but then I crash. Well, because primarily coffee is made out of caffeine. And of course, many people today, coffee is really a tall glass of sugar, because when you go to Starbucks or any of the coffee fancy places and you pay $7 to $10 for a coffee, it's not because it's just coffee. I mean, it's got caramel and it's got, you know, all kinds of sweeteners. And then they top it up with whipped cream just to kind of give you that send off. So I want you to understand that sugar is one of the biggest energy drainers. And you have to be careful about introducing too much sugar into your body. Uh, Scientists have determined that sugar is more addictive to heroin and other drugs. So the problem is that we don't look at sugar like we look at heroin. If somebody was to give you a platter full of heroin or sugar, you will use sugar, right? And let's say that sugar is disguised into brownies, or is disguised into chocolate chip cookies, or is disguised into this amazing cake, or whatever sweets you love. That's what sugar is. And the thing is that you look at that and you say, oh no, that is okay. The other one is not okay, right? We've seen enough scary stories about heroin that we don't even want to get close to it. The problem is that the sugar, scientists have determined, when it hits your brain, it creates a demand that your body craves it so much, just like it craves heroin and other drugs. So you have to eliminate or reduce severely the sugar. And that's one of the things that also robs your energy. So from a food perspective, lower your sugars and also lower your carbohydrates that are refined, like your breads and your pastas, because those two things alone can help you lose weight more than anything, just by cutting those things out. You know, I live in a high-rise building in Dallas, Texas, and I ran into my maintenance guy, and he had lost 40 pounds in the last 2 months. And I said, what happened? He said, well, I got a scare. They found out that I have epilepsy and I had an attack. And when I went to study, one of the things that my doctor told me is that I needed to reduce the sugar in my body, because the sugar encourages the epileptic attacks. So my wife and I began to cook differently, and we reduced the breads and all of that. And just by simply that, in 2 months, he lost 40 pounds and he looked amazing. And those are the things that most people don't recognize, because they're not your everyday discussions. So begin to look at your body as an energy source, and begin to plug yourself into the things that we know are going to give you energy rather than to take that energy away. And I bet you anything, you will enjoy your days so much more.
And thank you so much for sharing that testimonial too, because it is about taking different action. And that's simply all that he did, right? He got a health scare, took different action. And again, the body is an amazing adaptive mechanism, and his body adapted to the new environment he's providing, and it shed the weight. Because truly, you have to get healthy first before weight loss can happen. You have to fuel your body better, improve the health of your body so that your systems and organs and cells can function better. That's when metabolism improves, and that's when weight loss becomes effortless, right? So now taking some action, we talked about mindset. Now the other thing that you mentioned was taking action. So what are some actions that people can begin to take? We've talked about, some mindset action, sharing gratitudes, doing affirmations, changing your energy. And yes, energy is really important, how you fuel not only your body, but your mind and your spirit, because that's how we rejuvenate and regenerate, and how we gather energy for our body. So what, Dr. Fab, are some of the actions that our listeners can start to take now to make those lifestyle shifts, because it truly is lifestyle. We're not talking about diets here. We're talking about life changes.
Well, one of the things that I think is very important, Dr. Stacey, is to be clear about what you want. We have to be very clear about what you want. For some people, what I want is to sleep better, right? So then what happens is, let's say that I put as my goal to sleep better. Then the first thing that I look for is, what activities must I do today to ensure that I sleep better? So manifesting or making a goal a reality is very simple when the activities are aligned with what you say you want. The problem is that most people say they want something, but when you look at the day, right, one of the exercises that I do and I encourage all of my people to do is to go ahead and write down everything that you want, right? All the goals that you have. Let's keep it simple, and let's do health goals for this sake purposes. What are your top 3 health goals, right? Whatever that is. Now, I want you to take a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, and I want you to write down how you spend your day from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. I want you to write down everything you do during that period of time, and then I want you to compare them. And what we have found that is that over 80% of the things that you do on your daily tasks are not related to what you say over here. For some people, it's 100%, but on average, it's over 80%. So the way to change that, and that, by the way, is called Pareto's law, or the 80-20 rule, that has been taught for years and years as a mathematical equation that never fails. So the way that I've done it for myself and the way that I teach it is that when I know a goal, so let's say we're going to take one goal. I want to sleep better. Okay, so what are the 3 or 5 activities that I can do today to ensure that I have a better restful sleep? So let's say I'm going to do the first one. It's going to be to maybe research what are the 2 or 3 ingredients as a supplement that I can take that will help me sleep better, right? There's amazing ingredients that you can add to your diet that can support your sleep patterns, right? That's the first one. The second one is not to watch TV before you go to sleep, because we know already by science that when you watch television before going to bed or even listen to negative news, your mind starts spinning on that and it doesn't allow you to have a restful sleep. So what we recommend is that you listen to soft music, usually instrumentals, that you listen to a meditation. It's one of the most beautiful things to do before you go to sleep, that you read actually a very inspiring book. So let's take a chapter and you're going to read for 10 minutes before you go to bed in something very inspiring. Or you listen to an audio or a podcast that is very, very spiritual, very soothing, very positive. And you put that in your mind before you go to bed. I recommend also get adjusted, right? We know that when you get a chiropractic adjustment, it kind of resets your nervous system, that electrical system, so that way you can function at a lot lower pace. It lowers your blood pressure. It allows you to be more calm. It allows you to have more rest. Your nerve is flowing better, so you don't feel that tension in your body, especially in your neck area. So that could be another thing. Another thing that you could do is to actually be able to write down the 3 or 5 things that must happen the next day, so you don't have to think about what you're going to do tomorrow. You've already taken care of that before you went to bed. So your agenda is already full for tomorrow, so you don't have to wonder or try to solve any problems while you're trying to go to sleep. So now when you do that on a daily basis, Dr. Stacey, now you can ensure that you're getting closer to having a better restful sleep. And what you can do is that you can come up with new activities every day if you want to, or at least do the ones that are working for you. But if you do at least 3 activities a day on the goal that you set for yourself, which is better sleep, we notice that most people can accomplish that goal very quickly.
That is so valuable information to share about sleep. And I share other tips as well about sleep, having a warm bath peaceful, dark location, getting off the screen so that you're not blasting that pineal gland in your brain with that blue light, which makes your brain think it's daytime when really it's nighttime. So there's many things that can be implemented, but those are such key strategies to improve sleep. And reducing caffeine and sugar is a whole nother discussion, but that absolutely affects your sleep. Look at what you're doing every day and the outcomes that you're having, because they're tied together. So Dr. Fab, one thing I would like to ask is in regards to goal setting, yes, that's so key. But what about the motivation behind it, to stay motivated, to stick with what you want to do? What are a few things in regards to taking action to stay motivated with your goals?
Well, that is a very good question, because what we have learned after studying thousands and thousands of people is the fact that when people tell you or they give you a reason why they're not doing something, it's because something else is more important. It's a matter of priority, of what our dear friend Dr. John DeMartini, a hierarchy of values. So what I believe will help you more than anything is to really identify your highest values. You know, for most people, their highest values could be their faith, it could be their family, it could be their health, it could be their careers, you know, it could be their relationships, you know, whatever that may be. So once you identify your values, what keeps your goal sustainable is that you have a big why, right? You know, Seneca talks about the big why in the TED Talk and in his books, that when you understand your why and your why is bigger than you, that means that you're not wanting to lose those 10 pounds because you want to just get into that sexy dress. You want to lose those 10 pounds because you want to be around to be able to walk your daughter, you know, into her wedding. You want to be around to be able to do things with your grandchildren as you get older. You want to be around and not have to take 5 to 7 medications like most Americans past the age of 60 or 70 years old. That's why you do it. You do it for a bigger purpose. Yes, you're going to get into that beautiful, sexy dress or suit if you're a man that you haven't worn since your, you know, college years. But at the same time, it has to be bigger than that, because that particular goal, that why, is not big enough. So it's not sustainable. So what happens? Other whys come in and push that one aside and say, I got to pay the bills. Oh, I got to go work. I'm not going to go to the gym today. I'm not going to watch what I eat today, you know, because I have to do fast food. So what you notice is that if you're not sustaining your goals, it's because your why is not big enough. And if your why is not big enough, then other things that come into your life as urgency and important, they take and replace that goal. And that's why most people don't end up doing the things they say they want to do. It's because other things have replaced and become more urgent according to them, or more valuable according to them. You know, we see today that people will spend a lot more money to look good than to feel good. And I never understood that. You know, people will go ahead and spend $10,000 to $50,000 on a surgery just to look good for a particular event or something going on, than to actually spend a fraction of that just to feel good on a daily basis, like selecting good food, by exercising, getting your chiropractic adjustments on a regular basis, by drinking plenty of water, by getting plenty of sleep. They will completely ignore that, you know, that will make them feel good just because they want that look good instead of feel good.
It is amazing, isn't it? And those 5 things that you just mentioned, you know, getting better sleep so that your body can repair and rejuvenate, hydrating your body well because every single cell needs water in order for it to function well, fueling your body with the right foods, and moving your body so that everything is supple and flexible and active. And that all encompasses a healthy lifestyle. And those are 4 easy, simple things that you can do every single day, almost for free, right? And it's those core things that you and I both teach and share with our members, with our clients, with our audience. And that's why this message is so important, because it's not hard. It's just people don't have the right information at their fingertips. So in regards to fueling your body with the foods that you eat, share with us some foods that are thought to be healthy and that the general public would think that they're doing the right thing, but not necessarily when you get to the inside of the body. What are some foods that you know that people believe are healthy for them and truly they're not? Can you share some of those with us?
Well, one of the best things that I had to learn the hard way was the fact that a lot of fruits are natural, but they contain also natural sugar. And for some people, it will be better for them to try to find the kind of fruits that are low sugar, like berries, right? You know, I mean, berries are so healthy and so good for you, and it still gives you that sweet taste, but it's not going to be as sugary as a mango, you know, or a pineapple, or some of those that are a little bit higher content. So that one is one basic. The second one is the fact that a lot of times people think that having more salads is healthier. But then what I find is that if I go to a restaurant and we go eat and I order my salad and you order your salad, but then all of a sudden I see you putting extra dressing, you know, that is so thick and heavy and sugary, or I see you put cheese all over it, you know, and I see you put bacon. Now, all of a sudden, you took something that is supposed to be very healthy for you and made it into something that is not going to give you the health that you're looking for in that salad. So I want you to be conscientious that the more vegetables that you can add into your diet, the better that you will be, period. Our bodies are very acidic in nature because of the environment and because of the foods that we eat. We know that vegetables are one of the most alkaline foods that we can eat. They are mother's food, they're earth foods, they are whole foods. So what I recommend is no matter what you're eating right now, try to make at least 50% of your plate some vegetables. You know, you can put spinach, you can put kale. I happen to like spinach and kale. You can put different peppers. You can add, you know, maybe some onions. You can do garlic. You can do many of the foods that you may appeal to tomatoes, but try to do something that you're adding more of that alkaline foods into your diet, because one of the things that I notice is that most of us are eating food that makes us feel full and that actually tastes good. But the unfortunate thing is, even though it may feel good and it may fill us up, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that we have any nutrients that are going to help our bodies repair themselves, function better. So that's the reason that we recommend trying to go as organic and as whole food as possible. Now, if you're going to do a protein, another thing that I find is that people may have, let's say, fish or chicken or maybe even beef as a protein, but how do you cook it is the question. If you cook your beef and you use half a pound of butter, you know, then that beef is not going to give you the same benefits or the chicken or the fish, right? So that's one thing. What if you do all kinds of cream sauces, right, that you want to top them with, right? Is that going to allow you to be healthy? So all I'm saying is I'm all for having tasteful foods, right? I'm Latin American and Italian, and we love seasoning our food. But there's a lot of herbs and seasons out there that are really good for you, where you can kind of experiment. And there's a lot of options out there where you can find some healthy recipes. And all I can tell you from somebody that's very set in their ways when it comes to eating, because people around me would tell you, Fab, when you like something, you'll stick with that something for a long time. What I've learned to do is to say yes to something new, to try something new, and don't judge it up front that I'm not going to like it. I'm not going to do this, because I've been there. I know what that feels like. And I've limited myself from experiencing some amazing foods that now I love. But in my 20s and in my 30s, I will never give myself an opportunity to do that because I thought I wouldn't like it. It wouldn't taste good, that my body will reject it. So those will be my 3 little tips that I think will help you hopefully make your foods a little bit healthier.
That is so fantastic. Thank you. And it's so funny that you say, you know, at least taste it, at least try it. Park your preconceived ideas at the door and give it an opportunity. Why? Because how can you say you don't like it if you've never tried it? You can't say that you don't like it because you've never tried it. Now, in regards to fueling your body, I love to use the analogy of a race car. You know that if you put diesel fuel in a gasoline engine, the engine is not going to run effectively or efficiently. It might kill the engine as well. Well, your body is exactly the same way. The North American diet is just like putting diesel fuel in a gas engine, and our bodies are paying the price for it. So if you take the opportunity to change how you're fueling your system and you begin to implement more whole foods, natural foods, and reduce the sugar, then your body will absolutely function differently because you put different fuel in your engine. And that's a very
And you know,
simple step that you can take.
Dr. Stacey, I was going to say, to add to what you just said, is if I have a race car and I ruin the engine, I can always change it. I can trade it in. I can buy a new one. Your body, you only get one. And the challenge is that we abuse our bodies so much in our early years in life, only to pay the price in our later years in life. And if somebody would tell us and teach us and show us that we can select healthier foods and habits and lifestyles that would allow us to be healthier young, then those lifestyles will go with us as we get older. And then we can live to 100 years old healthy, to 120 healthy, instead of by the time we reach 60 or so, everybody's just feeling like, I don't even want to keep going. I don't feel good. I have to take 2 or 3 pills just to make it through the day. That's not what the body was designed to feel like as we get older. But it all starts with those little habits and understanding that this body of ours, you can't trade it. As much money as you may have, as much success as you may have, as much of whatever power you may have, you can't trade this body. You only get one. So make sure that you're selective with those lifestyle choices.
And that is so true. You do only get one. Talking about food, some may come away with the idea that, oh, they have to now jump onto kale and spinach and eat salads, and that's the end of it. That is not the end of it. And that's why I've created the Healthy Fuels Cookbook, where you can have amazing, delicious food. We just make it a little differently. You get to have your favorites. You can have lasagna, which is pasta free and wheat free and cheese free, but it's still amazing and delicious. And the whole family loves it. So don't think that you have to give up all your favorites, because food is an essential component multiple times a day. And all of our celebrations center around food as well. So it's important to just make different choices and just prepare it differently, where it's wheat-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, gluten-free, soy-free, and delicious. And it's not hard. You just need the tools at your fingertips. So Dr. Fab, what is one last thing you would love to share with our listeners as we come to our close? What's one more thing you'd like to share?
Well, the one thing that we have learned in life today, especially with uncertain times that we're living, is the fact that we need to be more selective about our responses to changes. Change is going to be around us all the time, whether you change a relationship, you change a job, whether you change an environment and you have to move, whether you change, your home or your car or whatever. And what I've learned is that when you select your responses to change to be more productive, more positive, then the outcome tends to follow. And so the circumstances that you're facing right now, I don't want that to become what defines you. What defines you really is for you to looking at those circumstances and saying, what can I learn from this? What is this doing for me that will allow me to become a better person, a more productive person, a more successful person, a kinder person, a more loving person, whatever the case may be. And then now all of a sudden you can select those responses, so then you can get the outcomes you want. But if your responses are based on just natural reactions and survival, the problem is you're going to go through a very difficult time, because change is going to be around us, and it's always been around us. But how we deal with change is what makes all the difference in the world.
That is so true. The only constant in life is change. Everything is changing. Your body is changing. The environment is changing. The weather is changing. Change is all around, but how you choose to respond to it rather than react. And I'm reminded of a quote by Viktor Frankl, who was a concentration camp prisoner, a prisoner of war. And he said, I wouldn't let them take my mind from me because I chose to respond to my environment and my circumstance rather than to react. So when you take just a moment to breathe, to think, to consider, in order to be able to provide a response rather than a knee-jerk reaction immediately, that changes everything in your outcomes, in your attitude, and where you are going in life. So take that moment to consider a response rather than an instant reaction to anything that shows up in your life. And you will see how differently your life will be. Dr. Fab, that's such an amazing tip to finish off with. I couldn't have thought of something any better. I really appreciate you having your time with us here today, sharing with our listeners here in regards to how they too can heal their health naturally, because it's absolutely doable. Your body is an incredible, miraculous, adaptive mechanism. Now you know how and why. Now it's just time to set the steps to shift mindset and get into action to have a different outcome. Thank you so much, Dr. Fab.
Hey friends, Dr. Stacey here. You have just a few more days to jump into the 5 pounds in 5 days challenge for free. That's right, because you're part of my community here right now, I'm offering you for free my 5 pounds in 5 days challenge. All right, so click the link, 5poundsin5dayschallenge.com. It's right below, and get ready to jump into your new you for 2022. See you on the inside.